Polina was 25 years old and worked as a nurse at a private clinic. She lived alone. Since childhood, the girl had dreamed of becoming a surgeon. Her delicate appearance amazed her classmates, and they found it strange that such a gentle girl could enjoy delving into other people's bodies, elbow-deep in blood. But that wasn't her main passion. She felt that she had the potential to become an outstanding doctor and bring great benefit to seriously ill people. The girl studied diligently and attended additional classes in the subjects required for admission, successfully passing the exam. She celebrated her acceptance into medical school with her father and close friends. Roman loved his daughter very much. She was his only child, as his wife died during the childbirth complications that led to internal bleeding. Polina was saved only thanks to his help. The single father did everything possible to ensure that his daughter lacked nothing and grew up without experiencing the grief of neglect and lack of care. But sometimes they had a hard time. Sometimes Roman found it difficult to understand the emotions of his daughter's soul. During her second year of studies, the student had to give up her education at her dream university to assist her ailing father. In his younger years, he worked in a series and constantly traveled for shifts, living in difficult conditions. Roman accepted certain sacrifices, but the thought of his daughter being left alone weighed heavily on him. The consequences manifested years later. At the time of his illness, Roman was 65 years old and unable to cope with an inoperable tumor. There were only a few months left, and sending him to the hospital made no sense. Polina could provide him with care on her own. Those months were difficult for both of them. The girl witnessed her only loved one fading away before her eyes, experiencing terrible agony, but she stayed by Roman's side until the end. Polina struggled greatly with the loss of her father. She still woke up in tears, seeing his exhausted face as it was 2 years ago. All her acquaintances distanced themselves and left her alone to deal with the problems she had to face on her own. Continuing her studies became impossible as she lacked the strength and resources. Her medical education remained unfinished, but became her main support in the job search. Thanks to the recommendations from her university professors, who never lost hope in Polina's professional recovery, she managed to secure a position as a nurse at a private clinic. She received more than she expected. Polina treated the patients warmly, even those who were critical or prone to causing trouble. The clinic and private doctors understood that each patient required individual attention and represented high-class service. Polina believed that these people simply lacked attention at home. They were dealt with, but their relatives, who lived with them, expressed their dissatisfaction. Here, they could receive the level of care they longed for. Polonishka Sunshine, one elderly woman, a frequent visitor to the clinic, addressed the nurse. "My grandson, Artem, will come tonight. Finally, you'll meet my grandson. He's shy, but don't be afraid to look after him. He's strict, he has a good job, works with smart people." "All right, Galina Vasilievna," the girl replied with a smile. "I promise not to offend him." Many elderly patients spoke to Polina about her kind and open nature, as well as her ability to administer IVs and injections effortlessly. The girl always paid great attention to any changes in the patient's condition and relayed them to the doctor. Galina Vasilievna was not the only one who wanted to see this sweet nurse in her family. Every other person proposed their lonely relative as a potential match for her. Such a peaceful scene, where Polina patiently and with a smile received all these proposals, infuriated the senior nurse, Victoria. In turn, she was having an affair with the head of the department. He never raised his voice at her because he knew how to put her in her place. And Victoria had the temperament to be exactly what he wanted her to be. For this reason, the authoritative woman considered herself the queen of the clinic and didn't hesitate to give reprimands and orders to her subordinates. Paulina disliked her from the first glance. As soon as the girl was sent for an internship, the male staff, who usually gathered by the river, began to notice this sweet nurse. The senior nurse saw her as a rival and secretly wished to get rid of her, but no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't catch her subordinate making a mistake. Paulina was more educated and talented, and it irritated the senior nurse, but there was nothing she could do about it. One evening, when only the on-duty medical staff remained in the clinic, a homeless man appeared. He staggered, clutching his chest, and begged for help. "Please, kind people, help me," he whispered. "I'm not lying, I need help." "Where are you going, sir? You can't go in there." The nurses made a commotion, not allowing the stranger to approach the non-residential area. His appearance was disheveled, and the women assumed he had been in a fight somewhere, drunk or acting foolishly, which resulted in his friends leaving him on the street for the night. After all, it wasn't summer. "Please, help me, don't leave me, I beg you, it hurts," the man continued. Someone who emerged from the rest area appeared to be a doctor with pillow marks on his face. "Why are outsiders interfering? Send him away. Don't make a mess. Let him find a shelter or seek help from volunteers. They specialize in that during their vacation." No one approached the struggling man until Paulina turned the corner, deciding to find out what had happened. She saw that the others were keeping their distance from the homeless man, treating him as if he were a leper, and she rushed to him. The girl managed to support the sick man and hold him up. "How are you? What's hurting?" she asked with concern, ignoring the smell of unwashed body. "There's a burning sensation in my chest," he whispered. Nikiforova objected. "You advised her to do it." The nurses grimaced and scattered. Paulina slowly led the sick man into an empty ward, hoping that no one would notice their presence. She didn't care about the rules or paid treatment. She was willing to pay from her own pocket just to help someone in need. Could doctors really turn away a suffering person just because they considered him second class? It was so foolish and cruel. The man continued murmuring words of gratitude. The compassionate nurse lamented that she could get in trouble with her superiors because of him. But the girl didn't hear him. Inside, she burned with a sense of injustice. Where was their medical ethics? Why did everyone scatter like cowards, afraid of a troublesome patient? "Don't worry about me." The nurse carefully helped the homeless man onto the bed. "I'll listen to you now." The girl put on a stethoscope. "Your heartbeat is normal, no wheezing. You have enviable health, like that of an athlete. Let's measure your blood pressure." The examination revealed no abnormalities in the man. He was about to leave, fearing that the girl might mistake him for an imposter and angrily send him back onto the street. But Paulina didn't stop caring for him. "Lie down, I'll set up an IV just in case. It won't harm you. Rest for a bit, and then we'll decide what to do." "Thank you, doctor." The homeless man sincerely thanked her. "I dream of being a doctor, but I doubt I'll ever become one. I'll check on you later. I still have tasks on other floors all night." The girl periodically checked on the sleeping homeless man. He introduced himself as Yevgeny. As she examined him, looking at the peacefully sleeping man, Paulina didn't regret letting him stay. Sometimes, when the patient woke up, they would talk. For some reason, she felt the need to open up to him. She told him why she dropped out of medical school and how much this job meant to her. Naturally, the conversation turned to his end. She distanced herself from it. Opening up to Yevgeny, she felt immense relief and gratitude that he listened to her. Deep down, the girl knew the reason for her vulnerability. Yevgeny was lonely and forgotten. He found himself abandoned in a critical situation and had to come to terms with it. His life's blows reminded the girl of her father. Aram, too, was forgotten by everyone, colleagues, relatives of her mother. No one extended a helping hand. No one offered to share her burden. And when she, just like now, sat by her father's bedside at night, checking if he was still breathing, I still can't believe he's gone. You know, sometimes I'm overwhelmed by this feeling of hopelessness, and I realize that he won't return, that it's true. I cry quietly, Polina said. We're familiar with that feeling. It's hard to accept how life treated you. In my youth, I couldn't even imagine that there would come a day when I would ask for help in a medical institution and have nothing to my name, the man replied. He fell silent, lost in his thoughts, until he fell asleep. Polina jumped up at a horrific scream from the next room. The street had long blossomed outside, and the doctor peeked into the ward with Yevgeny. All right, everyone out of here, girls, get him out, the man shouted, escorting the homeless man out of the clinic. Vladimir Genadevich, it's all Polina. She brought him here. The nurses scurried around, bearing the brunt of the angry doctor's frustration because of their compassionate colleague. Nikiforova, what's gotten into you? Come here right now, the doctor raged. The girl immediately rushed into the ward, shielding Yevgeny with her body. I'll take full responsibility, just check his condition. Vladimir Genadevich, you can't just send him out onto the street like that. You're a human after all. Well, you've been caught, our Holy One, Victoria interjected, joining the conversation as she arrived for work and saw her rival in the thick of things. She had a chance to put an end to this upstart. Finally, a good start to the day. Of course, you'll take responsibility. How could you betray me, Gudin? Don't hesitate with her. Get out, Nikiforova, and I'll report you, the doctor snarled. The situation reached its boiling point as everyone was on edge, but Polina stood her ground, refusing to let the homeless man be thrown out onto the street. Just then, the chief doctor entered the room. Everyone froze in place, wide-eyed with fear. Here it comes, Polina thought. The man approached Yevgeny and respectfully shook his hand. Good morning, colleague. Are you already conducting reconnaissance? And how do you find the team? Gasps filled the room as all eyes remained fixed on the chief. Good morning. Yes, I had the honor, Yevgeny replied, and something in his demeanor suddenly changed. The chief turned to the stunned staff and announced, Meet your new chief, Evgeny Mikhailovich Pashkov. Please welcome him. Starting next week, he will take my place. The medical staff glanced at their future leader, avoiding eye contact. Such chaos had unfolded right before his eyes. Yevgeny had his own specific approach to studying the dynamics within a team. He enjoyed playing games and seamlessly integrated himself into the clinic's life, deliberately provoking conflict situations. The staff's reaction revealed a lot to him. The first thing the new chief did was assume his position. He dismissed Vladimir Genadevich for violating the Hippocratic Oath by ignoring the symptoms of a heart attack in a homeless man and ordering him to be sent out onto the street, where he faced a real threat. Regardless of being a private organization, the well-being of a person in need should have concerned the doctor. From that day forward, Polina became the new chief's favorite. Victoria was pushed aside, and Polina was appointed in her place. Unable to bear such humiliation, Victoria resigned, cursing Yevgeny. The patients were delighted by Polina's promotion. The compassionate young nurses also received support from the chief in their recovery. Keep an eye on the University, Nikiforova. I expect you to join my clinic as a specialist once you complete your studies. Not as a rival, of course, Evgeny Mikhailovich. I haven't lost sight of you, the happy girl said. From the new year onwards, she recovered, and the student who replaced her changed, but Polina's passion for science remained the same. The professors congratulated her on her return and expressed hopes for her future professional success. The act of Yevgeny remained etched in her memory for a lifetime, and as a successful surgeon, she shared his story with students when giving lectures. If you enjoyed the story, please support me with a thumbs up button. To stay updated on the release of new interesting stories, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Wishing you all the best.